Time moved differently inside Lawrence prison. Michael Raines had felt it through 2 long years behind bars, days blurred into one endless, colorless stretch, broken only by rare disruptions. A fight in the mess hall, a new inmate's arrival, the occasional cell search. The monotony clawed at him, made him want to scream. The outreach program felt like another hollow gesture from the administration, a show of effort to pretend they cared about rehabilitation. Michael only signed up because the social worker pushed him, not thinking much about the answers. Who would ever want to write to a convicted robber, anyway? Then, on a Wednesday, a plain white envelope arrived. Neat handwriting, simple message, a friendly hello, a few curious questions, an unexpected offer of connection. But there was a warmth in those words, something real, something rare in this cold place. I picked your name randomly, but I don't believe in coincidences. Maybe we both need someone to talk to. I'm kind of lonely too, living in a city that never stops. Michael read the letter 3 times before responding. He didn't know what to say. Prison had shrunk his language down to gruff slang and survival talk. Still, he spent that whole evening writing, crossing out and rewriting every line. Thank you for your letter. I didn't expect anyone to write. Time crawls here, so hearing from the outside feels like a breeze through a closed room. Little by little, their exchange became more personal. Alex spoke of her work in graphic design, her love of old films, her cozy apartment facing the park. Michael found himself writing about life before prison. Hopes, memories, even buried fears he'd never confessed aloud. After 3 months they were using first names. By 5, Michael realized he was living week to week for her letters. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but sometimes I think you understand me better than anyone ever has, he once wrote, then paused, stunned by his own honesty. In December, a photo arrived. He stared at the girl with the gentle smile and shoulder-length brown hair. Her eyes sparkled with sharpness, and the tilt of her head added something soft, almost delicate. That's me. Thought you might want to see who's been writing you all this time. It's not my best photo, but it's all I've got. He pinned it above his bed. At first his cellmates joked. Then they began to ask, curious, who was this woman who sent such heartfelt letters? My girlfriend, Michael answered, surprised at how natural it sounded. By spring their letters shifted, filled now with shared dreams and whispered confessions. Alex described their imagined first meeting. Michael told her about a lake house where they could live someday. Every night I think of you before I sleep, he wrote. I wonder what your voice sounds like. Is it soft or sharp? Do you talk fast or slow? Do you laugh the way you write? Alex began sending more photos. Michael saw her in different clothes, with new hairstyles, but always with that familiar gentle smile, the one that had started to visit him in his dreams. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever met, and the smartest, the kindest, he wrote, unafraid to be completely honest. Alex replied with letters just as affectionate, though now and then, a subtle sadness crept into her words. Sometimes I worry that when we finally meet, things will be different, that you'll see the real me and be disappointed, she confessed once. Michael couldn't understand it. To him, Alex was more real than the prison bars, more present than the gray concrete around him. You're the only thing keeping me going. Without your letters, I'd have lost my mind a long time ago. You can't disappoint me. I know you better than I've ever known anyone. That summer, Michael did something he once thought impossible. In a letter he rewrote 7 times, he asked her, will you marry me? I know it sounds insane. I'm here, you're out there, but I need to know there's a future. That we have one. 2 weeks passed, the longest 2 weeks of his life. Finally, a thicker than usual envelope arrived. Inside was a silver ring on a chain. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I'll wait for you no matter how long. They married a month later, an odd ceremony of signatures, documents, and no embrace, but for Michael, it felt more real than anything he'd ever known. After that, their letters deepened. Michael didn't hold back anymore. He wrote openly of desire, of the longing to touch the woman who now wore his name. Alex always replied with warmth, but gently redirected their talks away from physical desires and toward dreams and emotions. When I get out, I'll kiss you for hours. I want to memorize every inch of you, Michael once wrote. I dream of your voice just to feel your hand in mine. Sometimes I think that would be enough, Alex replied. The prison social worker, observing their rare love story, offered a solution, a special visit for married inmates with good behavior. Michael clung to the idea like a lifeline. But Alex's response came hesitantly. I'm not sure I'm ready. Please don't misunderstand, I want to see you, but it's just hard. Michael didn't understand. He begged, pleaded, painted pictures of their meeting in every letter. He promised nothing would change. He swore his love was unshakable. Finally she agreed. Okay, I'll come. First Saturday of October. Just, please be gentle. I'm very nervous. The weeks before their meeting passed in a haze. Michael counted days, hours, minutes. He reread every letter, stared at every photo, trying to memorize her face. Then the day before the visit, one last letter arrived. My love, tomorrow I'll see you for the first time. My hands are trembling as I write. There's something I need to tell you, but I don't know how to explain it in a letter. Please, whatever happens tomorrow, remember this. Every word I wrote about my feelings was true. I love you with all my heart. I always will. Michael read that letter over and over, trying to decipher the weight behind her words, trying to prepare for whatever was coming. Michael still couldn't grasp what Alex meant. What kind of secret could carry that much weight? Was she seeing someone else? Or afraid she wouldn't like him in person? The thoughts felt ridiculous. Nothing could shake what he felt for the woman who had become his anchor inside these walls. That night, he lay awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling, playing over every imagined moment, the feel of her hands, the sound of her voice. Tomorrow he'd finally meet his wife. His Alex. His future. Morning at Lawrence prison began as always, the echo of metal doors, the warden's bark slicing through silence. But for Michael, this wasn't just another day. After 17 months of letters, today was the day he'd see Alex. Kevin Harding, his cellmate, stretched lazily on the top bunk and glanced down with a grin. Michael stood by the tiny metal mirror, fixing his hair for the third time. Got a hot date with the missus? Kevin teased. Ready for battle, soldier? Michael didn't reply, but his heart thudded like a drum. Tonight he'd hear her voice, feel her touch, breathe in her presence. Hey, relax, Kevin said, hopping down and lowering his voice. First date after the wedding always messes with your head. But listen, if a chick shows up to visit her man in lockup, she's ready. That's just how it is. They act shy, but they want it just as bad. Michael gave a half-hearted shrug. Alex wasn't like the women Kevin talked about late at night, crude stories, empty glances. She was thoughtful, deep, compassionate. But still, a whisper of doubt crept in. 17 months of imagining her, writing his needs and fantasies, wasn't it normal to expect those dreams to become real today? Kevin nudged him again. You got the private visit room, right? Not bad. Bed's like something out of a cheap motel, but hey, beats the metal tables in the rec room. In the dining hall, breakfast chatter buzzed louder than usual. Johnny, across the table, was laughing and rocking his hips in mock rhythm, turning heads with his crude performance. Show her whose boss reigns, someone called from another table. You know it, another chimed in. 17 months without a woman? I wouldn't let her leave the bed. Michael forced a smile, played along with a joke or two, but a strange tightness was growing in his chest. Yes, they were right. He ached for closeness, craved the warmth he'd been denied for so long. But on one hand, Michael wanted their first meeting to be unforgettable, for more than just satisfying a long-burning physical need. Listen up, Rains. Kevin leaned in close as the guards began directing them back to their cells. Don't let her take the lead. This is your turf, your rules. If she starts hesitating, just take what's yours. She'll thank you for being a man, not some lovesick puppy. Michael gave a brief nod, half to make Kevin stop talking, half because the words stirred something primal inside him. 100 kilometers away, Alex stood in a cramped bathroom, fumbling with the last buttons of her pale blue blouse. Her fingers trembled. In the mirror, her pale, drawn face stared back, framed by soft brown hair. He'll understand, she whispered to her reflection. He has to. He loves me for me, not for my body. But the fear clung to her like a shadow. 17 months of letters, connection, trust. Everything could fall apart in a single afternoon. She should have told him sooner. At first, it felt harmless, just messages between strangers. Then the bond deepened, feelings blossomed, and it became too late. How do you explain something like this in a letter, when you can barely explain it out loud? Her fingers touched the silver ring resting on the chain around her neck. Their ring. The symbol of commitment. Of love. A promise she wasn't sure she could keep. Sweetie, you'll be late, came her mother's voice through the door. I'm coming, Mom, Alex called back, forcing calm into her voice. The drive took 2 hours. Her mother, Eleanor, was quiet behind the wheel, though her eyes flicked over now and then with quiet worry. Are you sure? She finally asked. We can still turn back. Alex shook her head. I need to see him. I have to try. He deserves to know the truth. And if he doesn't understand, I'll have to live with that. Lawrence prison rose on the horizon like a bunker, cold, gray, and unwelcoming behind its high, wired fence. Exactly how she'd imagined it. I'll wait right here, Eleanor said softly, parking the car. I love you no matter what happens. The visitor registration process was clinical, dehumanizing, ID checks, forms, searches. A middle-aged officer glanced at her ID, then up at her face. Looks a bit different. Changed my hair, Alex said lightly, trying to pitch her voice higher. The officer shrugged and stamped her entry. During the body check, another officer's hand paused briefly as it brushed a bandage beneath her clothing. Medical device, Alex murmured. I have a certificate. The officer nodded, but something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, maybe even sympathy. Alex looked away, heat rising to her cheeks. A hallway. Another check. Then a final door. Ray Donovan, the warden, sour-faced and brisk, met her there and offered a stiff arm. First time visiting? He asked, his tone bordering on sarcastic. She nodded silently. He gestured down the corridor. That's the intimate visit room. 2 hours max. There's a call button if you need it, but for emergencies only. No cameras inside, so enjoy. He smirked. A chill prickled Alex's spine. The room was simple, borderline seedy. A cheap bed, a table, 2 chairs. A tray of cookies and a thermos sat waiting. Your husband will be here shortly, Donovan said before stepping out and closing the door. Alex stood frozen. She pressed a hand to her chest, trying to slow the thudding inside. It's not too late. I can still explain everything. He'll understand. He has to. A loud click. The lock turned. The door creaked open and there he was. Michael. Her husband. The man she knew better than anyone, though she had never seen him in person. He was taller than she'd imagined, broader in the shoulders. The standard-issue prison robe hung loosely on his frame, but it couldn't hide his strength. And those eyes, the same ones from the photo she had memorized, looked at her now with such raw tenderness that her breath caught. Alex, he breathed. Her name sounded like a sacred word. For a heartbeat, neither moved. 17 months and a few steps separated them. Then Michael closed the distance. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her into a firm, trembling embrace. Finally, he whispered, "You're really here." Alex melted into him. The scent of cheap soap mingled with something deeper, something that was uniquely Michael. His heartbeat thudded against hers. And for that moment, just one, she forgot everything. The fear. The secret. The weight of the truth she still hadn't spoken. I've waited so long for this. Michael pulled back to look into her face. You're even more beautiful than in the photos. Then he kissed her. Softly at first, almost hesitant. Then again with more hunger, more need. His hand moved to the small of her back, drawing her close. Michael, she tried, her voice faint. Later, he whispered, lips brushing her skin. We have so little time. His hands moved faster now, her back, her waist, the side of her thigh. She could feel him trembling with desire. Alex gently stepped away. Please, Michael. We need to talk. He paused, chest rising and falling rapidly. What is it? What's wrong? She swallowed hard. Her heart pounded in her ears. No, she had to say it now. There's something you don't know about me. He frowned. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I love you. He reached for her again. She stepped further back. No, it does matter. Matters a lot. I'm not exactly who you think I am. Michael's brow creased. What are you talking about? Alex hugged herself as if the motion could shield her. Her voice was quiet, trembling. I was born different. I'm in transition, Michael. I haven't completed it yet. He blinked. Confused. Transition. I'm transgender, she said. I was born in a man's body. The silence was instant and suffocating. Michael stared at her as if she'd spoken a foreign language. Is this a joke? He asked finally, his voice cold. Because it's not funny. It's not a joke. Her voice cracked. I wanted to tell you, but I was terrified of losing you. He shook his head slowly, like trying to dislodge the words. No, that's impossible. I've seen your photos. You're a woman. My wife. On the outside, yes, Alex said, stepping forward, hand outstretched. And inside too. I've always been a woman, Michael. My body just didn't match. I've been on hormones for years. My features changed. My body changed. I'm still me. Michael recoiled, backing away from her hand like it burned him. Are you saying you still have? He stopped. Couldn't finish. His expression twisted into horror. Alex's eyes shimmered with tears. Please just listen. No, his voice turned sharp, brittle. You lied to me. For a year and a half. You tricked me into marrying you. His face flushed red with rage. Do you have any idea what I went through? What the guys said? How jealous they were? How proud I was? Michael, shut up. He slammed his fist down on the table, the sound sharp as a gunshot. Just shut up. I don't want to hear your voice. I don't want to see your face. You're a freak. You ruined my life. Alex flinched like he'd struck her. She didn't move, didn't wipe away the tears that now rolled freely down her cheeks. I know this is a shock. I know it's hard. But it hasn't been easy for me either. Her voice trembled. Michael, I still love you. That hasn't changed. Love. The words spat from his lips like poison. I loved a woman. A real one. Not this. Michael waved a hand toward her, as if trying to brush away what she had just said. I am a real woman, Alex said quietly. Where it matters inside. Always. For a moment, something flickered in Michael's eyes. Doubt. Confusion. But it passed and the hardness returned. Prove it, he said. What? Prove you're a woman. He took a step closer, his face twisted with fury and something else, something darker that Alex couldn't quite name. If you're my wife, he growled, then let's have our wedding night. Isn't that why you came here? No, Alex backed away until she hit the wall. Not like this. We need to talk. We need to understand each other. Talk. Michael laughed bitterly. I've been talking to you for a year and a half. Writing, waiting, dreaming. He moved toward her fast. His hand clamped around her wrist, tight enough to make her cry out. Michael, please, she gasped. You're hurting me. Aren't you hurting me? He snapped, yanking her close. You made me believe I had a wife. A real wife. And now this. Kevin's voice rang in his head like a drumbeat. If she shows up, she's ready. Just take what's yours. I don't believe you, Michael whispered, dragging her closer. Prove it. Prove you're not a woman. His lips crashed against hers, rough and unrelenting. His hands grabbed at her body, her back, her chest. She tried to pull away, but he was too strong. Michael, stop, she panted when he pulled away for air. This isn't you. I know you. You're not like this. You don't know me at all, he growled. Apparently, I don't know you either. He shoved her toward the bed. Alex landed hard on her back as he loomed over her, pinning her arms above her head. His knees pushed her legs apart, pressing against her. No, she writhed beneath him. Please, Michael, don't. Not like this. Don't do this. But he wasn't listening. One hand held her wrists tight, the other yanked at her blouse. The buttons popped and flew, scattering across the floor. Another pull, her bra tore open, exposing her chest. He froze. His eyes locked on her bare skin. Her body. The truth he'd refused to believe. Then his hand moved lower. Toward her waistband. No. Alex screamed, twisting with everything she had. Please? Something in her voice stopped him. Just for a moment. His hand stilled. He looked at her, her tear-streaked face, the terror in her eyes. Alex? He breathed and his grip loosened slightly. She used that moment to free one arm and gently, trembling, reached up to touch his face. Please, Michael, she whispered, her voice breaking. Not like this. If you love me, not like this. Something inside him cracked. His eyes softened, but only for a second. Love? He said, pulling away, fury returning. You lied to me. You used me. He grabbed the zipper of her pants. Alex thrashed, panic rising. No, stop. His hand slipped beneath the fabric, then froze. He pulled his hand back like he'd touched fire. His face went blank, then twisted in horror. Oh God, he whispered. It was true. He stumbled back, breathing hard, staring at her like he was seeing a ghost. Alex lay still, trembling, trying to cover herself with what remained of her blouse. I told you the truth, she said through tears. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought you'd understand. Understand? He hissed. You tricked me. You made me a joke. I loved you, and you turned it into a lie. It was never a lie, she pleaded. My love was real. I am real. Michael stood in the center of the room, clenching and unclenching his fists, his world spinning out from under him. You broke everything, he whispered. His voice was empty, hollow. Everything I dreamed of. Everything I hoped for. We can fix this, Alex said softly, barely above a whisper. Together. If you give us a chance. Michael looked at her, this person he had loved with all his heart, and his face contorted with something far worse than rage, disgust. No, he said. This can't be fixed. The silence that followed was unbearable. Heavy. Suffocating. Michael turned his back, eyes on the door, like he was trying to wake up from a dream that had become a nightmare. "You're not even a woman," he said hoarsely without turning around. "You never were." Alex sat motionless on the edge of the bed, clutching the torn fabric to her chest. "I am a woman," she said, her voice shaking. "I was born in the wrong body. But I've always been me. Just born in the wrong body." "Yeah. Shut the hell up." Michael's fist slammed into the wall. The sound echoed like a gunshot, but he didn't flinch, didn't seem to feel the pain. "No more lies," he said, voice low and seething. "I saw it. I felt it." He choked on the words, unable to say them out loud. Shock was fading, replaced by something darker. Something heavier. Humiliation. Betrayal. The whole prison knew his wife was coming. Kevin. Johnny. The guards. Everyone. They'd looked at him with envy, respect. The guy with a beautiful wife waiting for him. And now in his mind's eye he saw it. Their laughing faces, the whispered jokes. "Hey Rains, how's your wife? Or is it your husband now?" Rains is switching teams. Must have liked prison more than he thought. "You destroyed me," Michael whispered. His voice was eerily calm now, more dangerous than his rage. "Do you realize what you've done?" Alex stood slowly, giving him space. "Michael, I know you're hurting. But nothing's changed. I'm still the same person, the same Alex who wrote you, who fell in love with you. All those feelings were real." Michael took a step toward her and she instinctively stepped back. "Real?" His eyes were wild. "You call that real? 17 months of confinement. 17 months of desperation, loneliness, of clinging to the lifeline of her letters. Every night he'd imagine this meeting. Holding her. Kissing her. Feeling human again. She was his escape, his hope. And now, it was a joke. A lie. He wasn't special. He wasn't lucky. He was the fool. "I thought you were saving me," he said, his voice cracking. "But you were just using me. Playing some sick game." "No, Michael, that's not true." Alex stepped forward, gently, cautiously. She held out her hand. "I loved you. I fell in love with your words, your pain, your hopes. I never meant to hurt you." "Don't touch me," he snapped, jerking away like her fingers were acid. His face contorted with disgust. "You think I'd never find out? That I'd be so desperate for love I'd accept anything?" "I was afraid," Alex said softly, tears falling freely now. "Afraid of losing you. But everything I wrote, it was true. All of it." "I didn't accept you," Michael hissed. "I didn't know you. If I had." He looked at her with pure loathing. "I never would have written a single line." The words cut deeper than any blade. Alex staggered, as if the air had been punched from her chest. "You can't mean that," she whispered. "After everything we shared." Michael laughed bitterly, eyes wide with disbelief. "Shared? You were out there, living your life, sending me filtered pictures and fantasy letters while I was locked in a cage, clinging to a dream that wasn't even real." "It was real," Alex said. "I love you, Michael. That never changed. You keep saying that." His tone was hollow. "You keep saying it's real. But you lied about the most basic thing." He stepped closer. "For you, it's just a body. But for me..." He trailed off. Something in his eyes went flat. Alex felt a chill crawl up her spine. He was retreating into himself, into something she didn't recognize. "Let's talk," she tried again. "Please, Michael. I know you're angry. I'm too. But if we love each other..." "Love?" he echoed, staring through her. "I loved a woman. A real woman. Not a freak." That word cut like glass. Alex recoiled but didn't stop. "Don't say that. I'm still me. The same soul you connected with. We can get through this. Together." Michael didn't hear her. Or didn't care. He shook his head slowly, voice chilling in its clarity. "When I walk out of here, they'll all know. Everyone will laugh. Rains, the guy who married a man." He spat the words like poison. "I won't be able to live with that." "No one will know," Alex said quickly. "Please. This can stay between us. If you want, we can end things quietly. A divorce. I'll disappear." Michael looked at her like she hadn't spoken at all. "You ruined my life." "Michael, please." Then he snapped. All the rage. All the shame. The helplessness. It detonated in one instant of violence. He lunged. Before Alex could move, his hands were around her throat, squeezing. "You ruined my life." His grip tightened with every word. Her eyes widened, lips parting in a silent cry. She gasped for air, nails digging into his arms, struggling, thrashing. Her vision blurred. Her legs kicked weakly. And still he squeezed. Alex clawed at his wrists, her eyes wide with horror, disbelief, pleading for air. Her lips moved but no sound came, only a rasping wheeze. Somewhere deep inside Michael, a voice screamed that this was wrong, that he had to stop, that this wasn't who he was. But that voice was buried beneath a landslide of rage and humiliation. Years of confinement, of being stripped of dignity, of holding on to hope like a lifeline, it all erupted now. And Alex had become the vessel for all of it. He was only dimly aware that her strength was fading. Her body grew weaker beneath him, her fingers slipping from his arms. Her eyes, filled with tears and something even more devastating, love, still looked at him. No anger. No hate. Just pain and sorrow. That look only enraged him more. How dare she still love him? How dare she pretend this was real? His hands tightened even when she stopped struggling. When her eyes rolled back. When her body went limp. It wasn't until his arms began to tremble from the exertion that he let go and staggered back. Alex crumpled to the floor like a marionette with its strings cut, her open eyes fixed on nothing. Purple bruises bloomed across her throat where his fingers had been. Michael stared. The weight of what he'd done sank in, slow and cold and final. He fell to his knees beside her. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." He touched her face. It was still warm. Still hers. He fumbled for a pulse on the very neck he had crushed, then shook her shoulders in desperation. "Alex," he choked. "Wake up. Please, wake up." But she didn't move. The silence that followed wasn't like any silence he'd ever known, it was absolute. Irrevocable. He didn't remember pressing the emergency button. Didn't remember the guards bursting in, dragging him away, slamming him into the floor. It was all noise. All blur. Ray Donovan's voice pierced the fog. So the wife was a guy, huh? Damn. Tough break. The warden barked orders, annoyed more than alarmed. "Contain it. Last thing we need is this in the news." The medics checked her, pronounced her dead from asphyxiation, then moved on like it was routine. Because in prison it was. Murder wasn't a tragedy. It was a formality. Michael was escorted to isolation. A concrete cell. No windows. No light. No future. And there, in the choking stillness, reality finally caught up to him. He had killed Alex. Not just a person. Not just a man. Not just a woman. But someone who loved him, who saw him when no one else did. Her last words haunted him. "I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too. But if we love each other." She had looked at him with compassion even as he crushed the life from her. No hate. Only heartbreak. And it hit him, she had never lied. She had been brave enough to come here, to love him despite everything. And he was the lie. The real Michael, the one who wrote tender letters, who dreamed of a life together, had vanished the moment she walked in. Replaced by a man who was terrified, ashamed, and unable to see past his own brokenness. He thought prison had made him a monster. But maybe, it had just revealed the one he'd been too afraid to see. Weeks later. Ella Morgan sat in the waiting room of Lawrence Correctional for over 3 hours. Her daughter was never late. Something was wrong. Staff avoided her eyes. Gave vague answers. Told her to wait. By the time the uniformed officer approached, she already knew. "Mrs. Morgan," he said, his face stiff with protocol, "I need you to identify the body." The words dropped like stones. Everything after that was red tape. Cold. Bureaucratic. Forms. Signatures. Procedures. It took a full week for them to release Alex's body. Ella Lehner organized a quiet funeral. Modest. Dignified. Only a few people came, family, a couple of friends who had loved Alex as she was. Back home, sorting through her daughter's things, Ella Lehner found a box. Small, covered in faded cloth, tied with a ribbon. Inside were letters. Hundreds of them. Michael's handwriting. Neat. Reverent. Some pages wrinkled from where tears had once fallen. Each one signed. Dated. She didn't want to read them. It felt like trespassing. But something made her fingers reach for the top letter. It was from the last stack. The last words Alex ever received. "My favorite Alex. I can't believe we're only 2 days away. 2 days from hearing your voice. From holding you. From finally seeing the face that's haunted my dreams in the best way. I imagine us sitting across from each other and I know I'll probably be nervous. Probably won't stop talking. You know me. But more than anything, I just want to look in your eyes and know you're real. I love you. Michael." Ella Lehner held the paper in shaking hands, tears falling freely now. In that moment she realized something devastating. They had both loved each other. They had both been real. But the world, and Michael's own fear, had made that love impossible. And now it was lost. Forever. Your voice touching your hand. I can't stop thinking about what you wrote in your last letter. The fear that something might change when we finally meet. But nothing will change, Alex. Nothing. I fell in love with your soul, your thoughts, your kindness, the way you see me, understand me even when I don't understand myself. You accept me, flaws and all. Whatever you are, I will love you. Always. Michael. Tears blurred Eleanor's vision as she finished reading. She gently placed the letter down and picked up another from the middle of the stack. Then another. And another. Each was filled with tenderness. With a vulnerability that was almost painful. So much hope. So much light. It was impossible, to believe that the man who had written these words had been capable of such darkness. Buried near the bottom of the box, she found a folded sheet, one that hadn't been mailed. The ink was slightly smudged. It was Alex's handwriting. A draft of a letter that had never reached its destination. Her final confession. Eleanor read. Michael, my love. I've been gathering the courage to write this for so long. I should have told you from the beginning. But at first, I didn't think our letters would become anything serious. And then, when I realized I was falling in love with you, the truth became too heavy to speak. I'm not exactly who you think I am. I was born a boy. All my life I knew something was wrong. That I didn't belong in the body I was given. I've lived for years now as a woman. I've taken hormones, I've changed how I look, how I live. But I haven't completed full gender reassignment surgery yet. I understand if this changes things for you. You have every right to feel what you feel. But I had to tell you the truth because you deserve that. You deserve honesty. Please know one thing, everything I've written to you, every single word, was real. My love for you is real. You've become my world, and no matter what happens, I will always love you. Forever yours, Alex. Eleanor pressed the letter to her chest, sobbing quietly. Two souls, so brave, so full of longing, had found each other in the most unlikely place. And yet, everything they had built was shattered in a single moment. A moment born not of hatred but of fear. Misunderstanding. Shame. She looked at the photo resting beside the stack of letters. Alex's face beamed at the camera, eyes full of hope, lips curled in that familiar bright smile. A future was waiting behind that smile. A future that would never come. I'm sorry, sweetheart, Eleanor whispered through trembling lips. I should have protected you. But deep down she knew, there was no protection strong enough. Not from a world that punished those who were different. Not from a love so deep, so desperate, that it drowned in its own fear. Elsewhere inside Lawrence prison. In a windowless concrete box, Michael Raines sat slumped against the wall. The silence was his only company. In his hands he held the last thing they had let him keep, a photo of Alex. Her smile still lived in the frame, frozen in time. Untouched by betrayal. Untouched by pain. He stared at it, trying to find the place where love had turned into rage. Trying to understand how something so sincere, so sacred, could curdle into violence. There was no answer. Only the dull ache of regret. He turned the photo over. On the back, in her soft handwriting, were the words. Love you just the way you are. Forever yours, Alex. Michael's throat tightened. He closed his eyes. Too late. Too late to tell her that he had loved her. Too late to admit that it wasn't her truth that had destroyed him. It was his own weakness. Too late to give her the one thing she had asked for. To be seen. To be loved. As she was. And now that chance was gone. Forever.